Everybody, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay, I want you to imagine that you're in the 5th grade and you're walking into school and it's state test day. Okay, the atmosphere of the school is a little bit different than usual because it's not a regular school day. The air's kind of filled with a little bit of excitedness, nervousness. All the students are a little on edge, and it might actually be colder than usual. Okay, we've all kind of experienced this. I know I remember state test days pretty similarly. Standardized tests are administered to students to help give insight to the state, teachers, and their families on their children's abilities. And there are advantages to standardized testing. Basically, it gives school districts and educators a standard to work towards with their students, but there are disadvantages to standardized testing. So today, I want to share with you 3 reasons why standardized tests are harmful to students. First, standardized tests do not benefit different learning styles. When students take these tests, they usually don't see things as black and white. Standardized tests don't value creativity. So these creative students, when they take these tests, there's a lot more gray area than there is black and white. And the machines that grade the tests, they do see things as black and white, so they're graded that way. A lot of teachers, when they teach these certain standards, they teach a right way and a wrong way to do things, and they don't value kids with a more creative brain and a creative side. So they don't teach subjects creatively, they just teach things a right way and a wrong way, which does hinder students' capabilities. Teachers also don't value students who have different learning styles. So some people might be better visually, some might be better with their hands. Children benefit better when they're in an environment with hands-on learning instead of an environment where they're just learning a specific topic and the teacher only teaches it a certain way. The second disadvantage of standardized testing is that they cause stress. Standardized tests cause so much unnecessary stress. When students are presented with a test and they are told it will make or break their future, sometimes their brains enter into a fight or flight response. When this happens, they have a hard time reaching higher levels of thinking and higher processing skills. They can't process information and process material the same way as they would if they were in a stress-free environment. Because of this, when students take standardized tests, sometimes they will not do as well as usual, and these tests might not show a child's full capability or full abilities, which unfortunately in the future might not make them as successful because they're not taking the right classes or they're not in the right courses that are best suited for them. In addition to stress, another disadvantage of standardized testing is that they do not teach students real-world knowledge. Standardized tests don't teach life skills necessary. When students grow old and become adults, they go out into the real world. They have to use these life skills in their everyday lives, and the schools aren't teaching this because it's not part of their curriculum. Life skills for these students would be stuff like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, group work, any kind of stuff like that you would usually need outside in the real world. But like I said, schools aren't teaching this because teachers are teaching to a certain criteria. So when you're only learning about certain subjects, you're not using these life skills. Students also spend a lot of time preparing and studying and memorizing the information that's going to be on this one single test that they have to get ready for. Memorization and last minute studying is not a life tool, but when we teach to these tests, we're teaching students that it is a life tool when it's not. And so it's important for teachers to teach life skills, because when they're teaching these non-life skills and they're teaching to a test, they're not teaching life skills in the classroom. It's important to acknowledge the disadvantages that standardized testing presents to students because of different learning styles, stress levels, and the need to learn life skills. Fortunately, there are ways to combat and advocate for taking standardized testing out of the education system. A couple ways to do this. One way is to use a portfolio-based assessment, and they also call it a multiple measures, which basically means they use all aspects of classroom life to determine a child's ability instead of depending it solely on one single test given on one single day, one time. So they would use aspects like presentations, group projects, classwork, different assignments, papers, and they would look at the whole picture instead of just, like I said, the one test taken on the one single day. So I ask you to please stand up against standardized testing so that we can enable children to be more successful in the future and prevent failure.